All right, welcome back to the vlog this week. Unfortunately, this week we're going to have to talk about a bad experience that I've had, or should say am having, frankly. Let's dive right into it. So this concludes Adventures in LinkedIn. Let me explain. Adventures in LinkedIn was this natural progression of content that occurred because I was spending so much time on LinkedIn trying to find good people to make contacts with. And when you first launch a product, you're building a sales process, and the sales process I built relied heavily on LinkedIn. And everything was going swimmingly up until a point, and cool things had happened. For example, I got to connect and have a short conversation with Braves baseball legend Dale Murphy. That was a high point. That was really cool. And of course, you saw Adventures in LinkedIn a few weeks ago. But unfortunately, shortly thereafter, our company page went down completely. Oinching's company page on LinkedIn, gone. And so I've been trying to get that fixed, and it is now on day 27 and ongoing with no solution on the horizon. And that led to this frustrated post 2 days ago. It reads, "It's official. LinkedIn is now the longest and worst customer service experience of my life. The AT&T Triple Play installation crisis of 2012 has dropped into the number 2 spot after nearly 9 years on top. Let's all congratulate LinkedIn on their new record. I canceled premium and my ad account last week. Hashtag LinkedIn." Hoping to get some amount of response, maybe like, hey, this is a problem, this is embarrassing, can you help me here? Because there's no opportunity on LinkedIn to actually escalate to a manager, which is on purpose, by the way. All right, why is this the worst customer service experience? Well, for one thing, it's the longest. My AT&T crisis of 2012 was about a 17-ish or 18-day ordeal. Of course, that's 17 or 18 days without cable and without internet, so that's pretty bad, which is why it's held that top spot for so long. This is 27 days with no resolution in sight. 2, because frankly, my customer service rep has now passed me on to 3 different groups. None of them have offered any explanation that I haven't already offered them. They've asked for the same information multiple times. My customer service rep actually introduced themselves twice to me as if we hadn't had a conversation already, which was odd. And frankly, the system displayed the error code. And so I have screenshots of the error code that's causing the problem. So if a developer has created an error code, it's because they've anticipated a particular problem and then provided feedback on the error code. So the solution is somewhat self-evident, and the customer's been able to solve it. Why haven't y'all solved it? I've been down 27 days. That is almost 8% of an entire year. And that's all content and stuff I'm not putting on their website to drive engagement. When would I ever support a marketing strategy that could be down for this much of the year? Namely, this much of the year all at the same time, right? This is 27 consecutive games and days that have just been down. And so I have now spent the last 11 days since I canceled my LinkedIn Premium re-engineering my sales process from scratch, right? Which is the second time I've done that in the last 6 weeks, is re-engineer a sales process from scratch. And I think the new process is better in a bunch of ways. It's harder, but it's better. And in fact, it's kind of interesting in how I'm doing. Let's talk about that. To do that, though, I want to get a visual aid. Ted or Rob, are you guys hungry, maybe thirsty? Can I get you some coffee?
Yeah, we're still recording, though.
I'm going to get you some coffee. We'll come back. We'll finish this after I get back coffee.
Action.
He doesn't want coffee.
No, this is just another excuse for Drew to go back to Fireworks and make more prints. All right, so Fireworks is our old co-working space. They have a printer. We've been in the new office now for 3-4 months? We still don't have a printer. That's fine for Drew because he can go back with his membership, get prints made. Ted and I, each time we walk into Fireworks, it costs us $10, even if it's just one print. So we've been bugging Drew. Look, can we just get a printer? What is it, $100? So of course Drew goes into his good old cheap versus thrifty mode, starts hitting the thrift stores, finds a $30 printer for what he says is worth $500, blows another $30 in ink, and the thing still does not work.
That was 4 weeks ago.
He's had the thing cleaned,
He changed some of the parts out.
and now he says we need a new print head. A new print head. The thing still doesn't work. And while he may have accomplished his goal of being thrifty, all the time he has spent on this thing has definitely taken him into cheapskate territory.
I think we're going to have an intervention with Drew when he gets back with coffee.
While I'm looking forward to the coffee, I think this definitely calls for an intervention.
Alright boys, I'm back. They didn't have coffee, but I did take some Be Kind bars. Why is there a printer in this room?
You have to understand, this is for the best.
Sometimes you gotta take the L for the boys. Listen, I could have solved it. I was 30 bucks in on the printer, 30 bucks in on the ink. For 50 to 100 bucks on the printer head, boom, we would have been at a great deal, like a 5-to-1 deal. It hurts to just let that slip out, but sometimes you gotta do it because you care about the people more than the cheapness. I don't know if this is one of those cases, but sometimes you have to do that, and I just have to move on. All right, we're gonna talk about sales process. So it took about 4 weeks to get my sales process really moving, and I was reliant on LinkedIn, particularly LinkedIn Premium, pretty heavy for that sales process. But it's not a cold calling situation. I'm taking my sweet time with each and every phone call. Let me explain why that makes sense. This is a complete list, okay? Can you see that? Of all the credit unions in America. There's about 5,098 on this here list. Now, many of those are very, very small, and some of those are very, very big, but it's a pretty extensive list. This is the list of all the banks. So I've got them both. And there's about 5,011 banks on that list. Now, that list is actually not quite that large because some of those are holding companies and some of those are commercial lenders primarily, and some of those are too big for me to frankly handle. And so it should be said like this. There's no greater than about 5,000 banks and 5,000 credit unions that I could do business with. There's no greater than, right? It's a top end. Each of those, I've got 4 to 6 people in every single one of those that I could frankly do business with. So that puts at about 40,000 to 60,000 total people who I could ultimately sell to. So here's my process. I start by focusing on a particular state and a particular geography, and I look for a bank or a credit union that is in a geography that I haven't called anybody yet. That way, if I manage to get a deal done, I know that this bank or credit union is taking this product to a greenfield, meaning they're not selling against a competitor. Once I find one that matches that, then I go to the website and I start looking for a couple things. I look for how involved they are in the community. Are they heavily involved in the community? Some banks are, and some banks, frankly, are not. Then I look for, okay, is this a company that's liking the innovation cycles? Are they pushing forth with new products? Are they trying to build up mobile? Third thing I look for is what education tools do they provide already? If after looking at all that, I feel like, yeah, this bank or credit union could be a good fit for me, then I go looking for people. And that's where I would have jumped on to LinkedIn and spent the rest of the time on LinkedIn, looking for connections, looking for titles, and sending messages. I don't do that now. Now I search through the website and through news clippings, and I look for names and faces, and I look for contacts, typically email addresses, or even just a phone number of the branch. And I'll call a branch and I'll say, hey, can I leave a message? These people are busy. I'm just introducing myself. I don't expect them to pick up the phone. They do sometimes. That's the crazy thing. I've had CEOs pick up the phone and be like, hey, I'm the CEO. Here's the phone call. I respect that. I respect that game. But it doesn't happen very often. And so right now, I'm at, maybe I'll only get through 2 or 3 phone calls per hour, which is slow, but I'm taking the time to know who I'm calling before I'm calling. It's not truly cold calling. You have been targeted, but in a good way, in a respectful way. And that's why it takes so long. But that whole process now had to be re-engineered without LinkedIn. And I've pretty much gotten there. After 10 days of practicing, I've gotten there where I'm just about as fluid without LinkedIn Premium than I was with LinkedIn Premium. And hopefully, we land us a deal here pretty soon with one of these banks or credit unions. I'm excited. I'm getting great feedback. So all signs point to yippee, right? Except, now I don't have a printer. So I technically didn't have a printer before. I go to Fireworks for that. Tomorrow's problem.